This is my audience. Hooray. Alright. So, after getting up in the morning, some of the things we do to get ready for the day include taking a shower, getting dressed, eating breakfast, and brushing our teeth. Throughout the day, we may go grocery shopping or go eat at the Bean, but we don't necessarily stress about where our food comes from or how we're going to get our next meal. Hunger is something that affects people all over the world. We may not think that something like this could happen in our own country, but it affects people every day and may have affected people that you know. According to statistics compiled by the World Food Program, some 805 million people do not have enough food to live a healthy, active life. That's about 1 in 9 people on Earth. Hunger is an issue that affects the entire world, and it is not caused just by a lack of food. Many factors attribute to world hunger, including poverty, climate change, and food wastage. One of the main causes of hunger around the world is poverty. When a person doesn't have enough money, they don't have the option to buy food to support their family. Poverty is affecting our world at astonishing rates and is greatly affecting how many people suffer from hunger. According to an article about poverty facts and stats written by Anoop Shah, almost half the world, over 3 billion people, live on less than $2.50 a day. Many countries, including our own, are suffering from an economic crisis which has resulted in higher unemployment rates. Because of this, fewer people have been able to support themselves and had to rely on other sources to get the food that they need. In the United States, we have multiple ways to combat this issue, including food stamps. Food stamps in the WAKE program, which is a program that provides food and money for women, infants, and children who are single mothers. While these programs do provide food, the food that people can afford on food stamps is very cheap and is not very nutritious, and so the people who are on those programs don't get the nutrition that they need and don't have the health benefits that we do. According to a journal article from the Trocare Development Review, Oliver DeSchutter states that the problem is that the price of food does not take account of the social and environmental costs of this kind of production. By stating this, Schutter explains that the prices of food do not correlate with the toll it's taking on society. People are unable to receive the nutrition that they need, and they suffer because of it. According to the United States Department of Agriculture Economic Research Service, about 1 billion people in developing countries live in poverty with annual per capita incomes of less than $370. Because of this, people are unable to receive the food and nutrition that they need to support their families and survive healthily throughout their life. While poverty can be one main cause of hunger, climate change can also greatly affect how much food a region receives. Climate change is a main factor of world hunger because this affects how much food and how much produce is grown annually. Global warming is something that affects everyone and the world that we live in. Climate change greatly influences the quality of food being grown. When an area of land doesn't receive the amount of rain that it needs to produce the amount of crop needed to support the people who live in that area, those people don't receive the nutrition and access to the produce that is usually provided. Global warming has changed the normal patterns of our weather and will continue to change how we farm today. According to a book entitled Climate Change and Global Health, author A.J. McMichael states that shortages in food and fundamental resources will breed tensions as they have throughout history. We can see from this source that food shortages not only affect nutrition and health, but also affect how people interact with each other. Throughout history, we have seen that wars have broken out because of the amount of food another group of people has. Because the climate is changing, food shortages will become more common and tensions about food may increase. According to a journal article written by the World Food Program, millions more people will be at risk of hunger and undernutrition, and most of them will be in the world's poorest countries where hunger, undernutrition, and food insecurity are already widespread. The effects of climate change are very influential and may be very detrimental to the health and nutrition of people all over the world. Another important cause of world hunger is food wastage. Throughout the world, food is being wasted because it has to meet certain standards to be sold in a store. Oftentimes in the U.S., food gets thrown out because it doesn't look a certain way or isn't as fresh as it could be. Oftentimes, bread that's been sitting on a shelf for 2 days will be thrown in the dumpster because it's not able to be sold. This perfectly good food is then thrown out and isn't made available to people who need it. According to a book entitled Waste: Uncovering the Global Food Scandal, the author Tristan Stewart states that in 1997, the U.S. government estimated that retailers waste around 2.5 million tons of food each year. This number has only increased since that date, and this food could be used to feed lots of families and people throughout the world, but instead it is being thrown into a dumpster or just rots away. According to a journal article presented at the 17th Annual Conference on Global Economic Analysis, author Tom Hurdle states that because the cost of food is so low in the U.S. in 2009, it is not surprising to have 40% food waste in the U.S. This shows just how dramatically food waste has increased in the U.S. alone. Food waste throughout the world is a huge problem and is something that can easily be mended to help those who need food throughout the world. And the picture that I have here on my board is a man who's going around the U.S. and he's collecting the food from the dumpsters of groceries all over the United States and showing just how much food is being wasted. So this is in New York City, and this was just from one day from the grocery stores. And so all this food is just perfectly normal. You can see that this is just like broccoli and stuff. And so food like this can be used every day, and it's just being wasted. And while this food may not be the prettiest or the freshest, it is still able to provide nutrition to those who don't have access to it. Food wastage is something that can easily be fixed and can be used to help those who really need it. In conclusion, world hunger is not just caused by lack of food. It is caused by a multitude of factors, including poverty, climate change, and food wastage. Hunger affects 1 in 9 people and may affect you at one point in your life. It is important to be aware of what causes hunger so that you may one day be able to help find a solution for this international issue. This affects people all over the world and is something that we are able to solve. Yes. And this is my audience again.